Welcome, my beloved friend. Have you ever wondered if the struggle you're facing right now is just a formality? What if you weren't actually fighting to win, but fighting to remember that you already won? Stop for a second and think about that. What if everything you've been working so hard for, everything you've been striving toward, has already been set in motion, waiting for you to catch up? Here's something that might surprise you. The human brain processes 11 million bits of information per second, but the conscious mind only registers about 50. That means right now, there are things working in your favor that you don't even realize yet. The victory you've been chasing, it's already unfolding. The doors you thought were locked, they were never locked, just waiting for you to push through. But let's be honest, winning doesn't always feel like winning. If it did, more people would realize they've already arrived. Instead, we're taught to believe that success must come through struggle, that hardship is proof of progress, and that victory is something we have to earn with blood, sweat, and tears. But what if I told you that the hardest part is already behind you? What if the setbacks you thought disqualified you were actually the very proof that you were destined for greatness? By the end of this, you'll see why you've already won, and why the only thing left for you to do is step fully into your victory. And trust me, once you grasp this, you'll never look at your journey the same way again. Before we dive deeper, I want to take a moment to thank each and every one of you who has shown your support through the Super Thanks button. Whether you donate or not, your presence here, your engagement, your commitment to this movement means so much. For those of you who choose to donate, thank you from the bottom of my heart for helping to keep this message alive. Your support allows us to continue spreading truth and inspiration. But remember, whether you choose to donate or not, you are a valued part of this community. Now, if this message has already started to shift something within you, or if it's resonating with you on a deeper level, I invite you to comment 777 below. Let's continue to build this energy together. And if you're ready for more unapologetic truth, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, because this is just the beginning and you don't want to miss what's coming next. Let's continue this journey together. You've already won. Now let's step into it. God's chosen ones, whatever you did, it worked. You've won, it's already yours. Number 1, you defied the script of mediocrity. Most people live their lives trapped within a script they never wrote. They wake up to the same routine day after day, going to work, paying bills, and repeating the cycle until the inevitable end, never pausing to ask, is this all there is? They follow society's rules without questioning them, because it's easier than stepping outside their comfort zone. The world tells them what's normal, what's safe, and what's acceptable, and they conform. But not you. You dared to defy that script. The moment you first asked yourself, is this really my path? Am I meant for more? You stepped into a reality that most people will never experience. You refused to be just another cog in the wheel. You rejected the autopilot mode that so many have chosen to live in. That was the first sign that you had already won. By questioning the system, you began breaking free from its grip. You were never meant to live a life of mediocrity, and you knew it deep down. Have you ever wondered why life sometimes felt harder for you than for others? Why, despite doing everything right, it always seemed like there was more resistance in your path? It's because you were never meant to blend in. You were made to stand out. You were designed for greatness, and that path isn't an easy one. It requires you to face resistance, to challenge the status quo, and to walk alone when necessary. But here's the truth. That resistance was never a sign of failure. It was proof that you were on the right path. The Bible gives us powerful guidance in Romans 12:2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. You embraced that transformation, and it wasn't easy. But that choice to step outside the system was your victory. Like Moses, who defied Pharaoh and led the Israelites out of Egypt, or David, who stood against the mighty Goliath with nothing but a sling and his faith, you too have faced your battles. But you have already won, just by being different. Their resistance was never a reflection of your weakness. It was a confirmation that your presence was shaking up the world around you. Do you realize how powerful that is? If the world is fighting you, it's only because you're not meant to fit in. You're meant to lead. And just like David's stone that brought down Goliath, your courage, your strength, and your refusal to accept mediocrity will always take you further than you imagined. And now, as you look ahead, everything from this point forward is just you catching up to the reality that you've already broken free. You've already won. The hardest part is behind you. Now, you're living in a reality where you don't follow their rules. You create your own. Your victory is already sealed, even if the rest of the world hasn't caught up yet. Number 2, the ones who opposed you were your biggest confirmation. The people who tried to tear you down, who tried to stop you in your tracks, were never just obstacles. They were the universe's way of confirming your uniqueness. Think about it. If you had been ordinary, if you had fit perfectly into their mold, they wouldn't have cared. But the fact that they opposed you, doubted you, or tried to sabotage your journey, that was their way of confessing that you were never meant to be like them. Have you ever stopped to consider that their resistance wasn't about you? It was about them. They tried to stop you because they saw something in you that terrified them, something they didn't have, something they couldn't deny. People only waste energy on things they consider a threat. So every time someone tried to break you, that was a sign that you were already ahead of them. The Bible speaks to this powerful truth in Isaiah 54:17. No weapon forged against you will prevail, and you will refute every tongue that accuses you. What does this verse tell us? That the very weapons people form against you will not succeed. They may try to bring you down, but ultimately their attempts will fail. Just like Joseph, who was sold by his brothers, betrayed by those he loved, yet rose to power in Egypt. You too will rise above the attacks that come your way. Joseph didn't need to fight back. He simply continued walking in his purpose. And in the end, everything that was meant to destroy him only set the stage for his greatness. Consider the story of Malala Yousafzai, who, after being shot for advocating for girls' education in Pakistan, didn't shrink back. Instead, she became the youngest Nobel Prize laureate, shining a spotlight on the importance of education for girls worldwide. Her opposition wasn't a sign of her weakness, it was proof of her strength and purpose. The attacks made her even more unstoppable. And let's not forget the life of Steve Jobs, who faced rejection, criticism, and even being ousted from the company he founded, only to return and lead Apple to become one of the most innovative companies in the world. His story is a powerful reminder that when people oppose you, it's often because they sense the power within you, whether they want to admit it or not. And that's something to be proud of. Do you see it now? Every time someone tried to block your path or make you feel small, they were just confirming that you were meant for greatness. Why do they spend so much energy trying to bring you down? Because they can sense your power, even before you fully realize it yourself. And now that you understand it, you will never doubt yourself again. You've already won the moment they made you their problem. Number 3, you became the lesson, instead of just learning one. Most people go through life collecting lessons. They read books, listen to advice, attend seminars, and reflect on their mistakes, hoping that one day it all makes sense. They search for wisdom only to find that they can't quite grasp it. They understand the concepts, but they never embody them. They stay in the same cycles, waiting for transformation to happen outside of themselves. But you didn't just learn the lesson, you became it. Your journey, your survival, and your transformation are the lesson. You didn't just read about growth and resilience, you became the living proof of what those words mean. While others are still trying to decode what success looks like, you've already stepped into it. Your life is the textbook. Every decision, every challenge, and every triumph you've faced is a chapter that reveals the power of change. Have you ever wondered why people look at you in awe? It's because they see the lesson in you. There's a difference between understanding something intellectually and embodying it with every fiber of your being. Plenty of people talk about resilience. They can quote all the right lines, recite the perfect mantras, but when life tests them, they crumble and their words fall flat. They may know what growth looks like, but they remain stagnant, waiting for the right time to move forward. You, however, didn't just talk about change. You became the change. In James 1:12, the Bible teaches, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him." You've persevered. You've faced challenges head-on, and each one has reshaped you, making you stronger and wiser. Your journey is not just a series of events, it's a testimony of transformation. You didn't just learn how to survive. You became a living example of resilience and strength. Think about the story of Nelson Mandela. He didn't just read about freedom, he lived it even when faced with imprisonment for 27 years. His life was the lesson. Or consider Maya Angelou, who turned her painful past into a message of hope for millions. Her words carried power because they were birthed from a life well lived, not just studied. They embodied the lessons they learned and became the truth they spoke. Have you ever noticed how people are drawn to you? Some are inspired by your strength, your grace, and your ability to move through life with purpose. Others, however, feel threatened by it. Why? Because they see something in you that they long for but can't seem to grasp. They know you're different. You walk into a room and without saying a word, you remind people of what's possible. You are the living example that transformation can happen in the most unlikely of places. The Bible reminds us in 1 Peter 3:15, "But in your hearts revere Christ as Lord. Always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give the reason for the hope that you have." But you don't need to say a word. Your life already speaks volumes. Your presence is the answer. Your strength is the lesson. People can spend years studying success, reading about resilience, or learning from the greatest minds in history, but what they won't learn from any book is the wisdom you carry in your bones. Do you ever wonder how people can look at you and feel inspired without you saying anything? It's because your life is a walking, breathing lesson. You've become the evidence that change is not only possible, it's happening every day. And the most powerful part of all, no one can take that away from you. Your transformation is yours, and it will stand as a testament for the rest of your life. Number 4, you realized that fear wasn't yours to carry. Fear was never yours to carry. It was handed to you before you even knew who you were. From the moment you were born, you were surrounded by people who had already accepted fear as their reality. Your parents, teachers, society, each of them passed it down like an old worn-out coat, expecting you to wear it without ever questioning why. Be careful. Don't take risks. Stay in line. These are the words you heard over and over from well-meaning individuals who themselves had been conditioned by their own fears. They weren't trying to harm you, they were simply repeating what had been taught to them. Fear became a way of life for them, and without knowing it, they passed it down to you. But there came a moment when you realized something they never did. Fear was never meant to be yours to carry. Most people live their entire lives burdened by fears that don't even belong to them. They fear failure. Not because they've truly failed, but because someone told them that failure is dangerous and shameful. They fear standing out, not because they don't possess greatness, but because they've been conditioned to believe that being different means rejection. These are fears that were passed down, and at some point you realized that they weren't your own. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself, where did this fear come from? Why am I afraid? That's the moment you began to break free. You questioned fear, you asked the hard questions, and that's when it began to lose its power over you. Fear thrives on being unchallenged, on being accepted blindly. It works best when you don't question it, when you simply follow the rules that society has set. But when you ask the question, who told me I should be afraid? Everything changed. You started seeing fear for what it really is, a tool carefully constructed to keep you small, controllable, and predictable. It thrives on conformity. It thrives on complacency. But when you stopped accepting it, fear lost its grip on you. The Bible speaks powerfully on this in 2 Timothy 1:7. For God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and self-control. You were never meant to live in fear, but to walk boldly in your power, grounded in love and self-control. When you started to trust in this divine truth, fear no longer had a hold on you. Consider the life of Malala Yousafzai. After surviving an assassination attempt by the Taliban for advocating for girls' education, she didn't let fear control her. Instead, she used it as fuel to continue her mission, becoming a global symbol for the fight for education. She could have lived in fear, but instead, she chose to step into her power. Or look at Steve Jobs, who faced public humiliation and setbacks when launching Apple, yet he refused to be shackled by fear. He saw past the fear of failure and led Apple into becoming one of the most innovative companies in the world. Do you feel it now? The strength that comes from no longer being controlled by fear. When fear no longer governs your decisions, you truly step into your destiny. You become unstoppable. The moment you let go of the fear that was never yours to carry, you found the freedom to soar. Number 5. You stopped being the beggar and became the source. There was a time when you believed that something outside of yourself was necessary to make you whole. You sought validation from others, approval from people who barely knew themselves, and permission to step into your greatness. You thought that if you could just prove yourself enough, if you could just do all the right things, the world would finally recognize your worth and give you what you deserved. But no matter how much you tried, it was never enough. The truth is, the world doesn't give power. It only acknowledges those who have already claimed it. Have you ever wondered why you kept seeking validation from others, hoping it would bring you peace, only to find that it never did? You were searching for something outside yourself, believing that if others saw your worth, you would finally feel whole. But you reached a point where you realized that nothing external could fill the void you were trying to fill. What you needed was always inside you. And then something remarkable happened. You got tired of shrinking yourself to fit into someone else's mold. Tired of hoping, waiting, and begging for things that were always meant to come from within. You stopped waiting for someone else to tell you your value. Instead, you became your own validation. You stopped asking for permission to be great. You simply stepped into your greatness. The Bible speaks to this transformation in Galatians 4:7. So you are no longer a slave, but God's child. And since you are his child, God has made you also an heir. You realized that you were no longer a beggar seeking approval. You were God's child, a co-heir with Christ, full of inherent value, power, and potential. You stopped begging for what was already yours. Look at the story of Oprah Winfrey. She came from nothing, from a life of poverty and rejection, but instead of waiting for others to recognize her, she became the source of her own success. Her journey was one of self-empowerment, and through that, she became a beacon of inspiration for millions. Or think about Serena Williams, who faced constant criticism and doubt in her journey to becoming one of the greatest tennis players of all time. She didn't wait for the world to tell her she was worthy. She knew her worth, and she stepped into it unapologetically. Have you realized it now? That shift, that realization that you were always enough, that the power you sought from others was within you the entire time. Now, when you walk into a room, you don't have to convince anyone of your worth. Your presence alone speaks volumes. You don't need external validation. You've become the source of your own greatness. The people who once overlooked you, they see you now. The ones who dismissed you, they wish they had paid attention. But here's the twist. By the time they notice, you no longer need them to. You've become the source. You've become the very thing you were searching for all along. And that power, that inner strength, is something no one can take from you. Do you feel the power within you now, knowing that you are no longer searching for approval from anyone else? You've already won because you've stopped being the beggar and become the source of your own success. That's a power no one can take away. Number 6, you were tested and you didn't fold. Life has a way of testing those destined for greatness. It doesn't announce its arrival. It doesn't give a warning or a moment to prepare. It simply strikes, suddenly and without mercy. When life hits hard, it's not about whether you can withstand a mild inconvenience or a slight discomfort. It's about whether you can endure the storm when everything around you seems to be crumbling. Most people, when faced with these kinds of trials, fold under pressure. They quit. They give up. They decide that maybe they were never meant for greatness after all. But you didn't break. You didn't collapse under the weight of disappointment, betrayal, or loss. You absorbed the blows, felt the weight of every setback, and kept moving forward despite the emotional and physical exhaustion that came with each challenge. That, right there, was the test. It wasn't about how easily you could win. It wasn't about how smoothly things would go. It was about whether you would keep fighting when everything was going wrong, when life looked like it was pushing you into a corner. Have you ever found yourself questioning why life feels harder for you than for others? It's because not everyone is meant to endure the level of pressure that you've been tested with. Most people only fight when the odds are in their favor. They keep going as long as the path is smooth, as long as the rewards are guaranteed. But you kept fighting even when everything seemed to be working against you. When life applies real pressure, most people crumble, but not you. You bent, you struggled, but you didn't break. You didn't surrender. That's why you've already won. Your strength wasn't proven when things were easy. It was proven in the moment when you faced the hardest battles and still didn't fold. Every time you had the opportunity to give up, but chose to stand firm. Instead, you proved something that most people will never understand. You were built differently. You were built to endure, to persevere, to outlast. You were made to survive the kind of storms that could destroy someone else. The Bible speaks to this in James 1:12. Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him. Your perseverance, your refusal to quit, has already made you victorious. Those trials weren't meant to destroy you. They were meant to shape you into someone stronger, more resilient, more capable of handling even greater challenges. Think about the story of Thomas Edison. He faced thousands of failures in his pursuit of inventing the light bulb. Yet every failure only made him more determined. He famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That attitude turned his failures into lessons, each one building on the last, until he finally succeeded. Or look at the life of Muhammad Ali, who endured setbacks in his career and even lost his title at one point, but came back stronger, ultimately becoming one of the greatest boxers of all time. Both of these men were tested in unimaginable ways, but neither of them folded. Neither of them gave up. They kept going, and they proved that the greatest victories come after the hardest battles. Do you see it now? The value in the struggles you've faced. Every hardship has served as a stepping stone to something greater, and now the world can't help but see what you've always known. You've already won. Number 7. You didn't just heal, you outgrew the wound. Healing is the goal for most people. When pain hits, they want to stop the hurt, close the wound, and move on. It's easy to mistake healing for simply putting a bandage on the surface and hoping everything will be okay. But here's the reality. Healing alone isn't enough. If all you do is heal without changing at your core, life will find a way to bring back that same pain, that same hurt, that same vulnerability. Have you ever wondered why you've encountered the same types of hurt over and over, even after you thought you had healed? It's because true healing requires more than just fixing the surface. If you are still carrying the same mindset, emotional triggers, and unresolved issues, you'll keep attracting situations that hurt you in the same way. The surface can heal, but until you outgrow the wound at your core, the pain will always find a way to resurface. But you didn't just heal. You outgrew the wound. You became someone new, someone who could never be hurt in the same way again. The pain, the heartbreak, the betrayal, those things no longer have a hold on you. The things that once shattered you, broke you down, and made you question your worth. They don't even touch you now. The people who once had the power to hurt you, they wouldn't even recognize the person you've become. Do you see now that the pain you endured didn't defeat you? It transformed you. You didn't just get back to the way things were, you leveled up. You became someone better, someone stronger, someone wiser. And that's why those old wounds no longer have the power to hurt you. You've outgrown them. The Bible reminds us in 2 Corinthians 5:17, "Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. The old has gone, the new is here." You didn't just heal, you transformed. You became someone new, someone who walks through life with power, wisdom, and peace. You stopped reacting from the old wounds that once defined you. Take the example of Tyler Perry, who faced unimaginable obstacles in his early life, including homelessness and abuse. Yet he didn't just heal from those experiences, he outgrew them. He turned his pain into power and used his life to create an empire that empowers others. Or consider the example of Lady Gaga, who overcame bullying and self-doubt, transforming those wounds into an anthem for self-love and acceptance. She didn't just heal from the emotional scars, she outgrew them and used them to fuel her greatness. Can you see it now? You didn't just survive the wounds of your past, you evolved, you leveled up, and there's no going back. You've become someone who no longer flinches at the pain of the past. You walk with confidence and strength because you've outgrown the person who was once vulnerable to that hurt. You didn't just heal, you outgrew the wound, and that is why the past can never touch you again. Your evolution is complete. The past has no hold over you anymore. You've stepped into a new version of yourself. And that version, it's unstoppable. Number 8. You became the silent answer to their loud doubts. Doubt is loud. It echoes in the form of laughter, mockery, and unsolicited opinions from people who never had the courage to chase their own dreams. These are the voices of those who question you, underestimate you, and make it clear that they don't believe in your potential. Maybe they thought you were dreaming too big. Maybe they assumed you would fail, like they secretly feared they would. Maybe they just needed someone to look down on in order to feel better about their own stagnant lives. Whatever their reasons were, they made their doubts known. Have you ever felt the sting of someone's doubt in you, the kind that tries to make you question your path, your vision, your worth? They didn't believe in you, and they weren't shy about showing it. They expected you to react, to defend yourself, to prove them wrong. But you didn't waste time on their doubts. You didn't engage in a verbal battle or try to convince them of your worth. Instead, you did something far more powerful. You let your results speak for themselves. In the Bible, Matthew 7:16 reminds us, "By their fruit you will recognize them." You became the proof. You became the living example of the potential they doubted, and every step you took toward your success silenced their words. You didn't argue with them. You let your actions show them who you truly are. You let your growth, your progress, your achievements be the answer to everything they ever doubted about you. Think about how LeBron James was doubted when he first entered the NBA. People said he would never live up to the hype, yet he stayed silent and let his incredible career speak for itself, proving every doubter wrong with every championship and MVP award. Or consider the life of Steve Jobs, who was ousted from the very company he founded. Yet, he didn't engage in a public feud with his critics. He quietly built the foundation for the next phase of his success, and in the end, he became one of the most respected innovators in history. Do you feel the power in that now? When you stopped reacting to their doubts and kept moving forward, you took away their ability to control your narrative. They wanted you to seek validation from them, to prove them wrong. But you didn't need them. You needed only your own belief. And now, those same people who laughed at you are the ones who are watching in silence. They are trying to figure out how you did it, wishing they had supported you when they had the chance. But by the time they realize the depth of your strength, you've already moved past them. You have already won. You didn't need their approval to succeed. You proved that through your actions, and you became undeniable. Number 9, you realized that loss was the illusion, not the victory. Loss is the greatest illusion there is. It tricks people into believing they've been deprived of something valuable, when in reality, they were just being redirected. What you used to think of as loss was never really a loss. It was simply life's way of making space for something greater. Have you ever felt the weight of a so-called loss, only to realize later that it wasn't a loss at all? There was a time when you believed that certain people, opportunities or situations were meant to stay forever. When they left or faded away, it felt like something was taken from you, like a part of your journey was snatched away before you could fully realize its potential. Maybe it felt unfair, like you had worked so hard for something, only to watch it slip through your fingers. But then, something shifted. You realized that what's truly meant for you can never be lost. If someone or something leaves, if an opportunity slips away, how could it have truly been meant for you? If it was part of your destiny, wouldn't it have stayed? The fact that it didn't means it was never aligned with who you were becoming. It may have been in harmony with the past version of you, but it had no place in your future. This profound realization completely shifted your perspective. You stopped grieving what was never yours to keep, and you started owning what was always meant for you. Do you see it now? You stopped holding on to expired relationships, outdated dreams and identities that no longer served you. Most people waste years mourning what's already gone, but you You made space for something greater by letting go. In the Bible, Philippians 3:13-14 reminds us, brothers and sisters, I do not consider myself yet to have taken hold of it. But one thing I do, forgetting what is behind and straining toward what is ahead, I press on toward the goal, to win the prize for which God has called me heavenward in Christ Jesus. You stopped looking back at what was lost and started moving forward, knowing that what's meant for you will never leave your life without reason. You made room for the blessings that were always meant to come. Think about the life of Oprah Winfrey, who faced rejection after rejection before she became the media mogul she is today. If she had clung to the idea of what she thought she lost, the TV job she was fired from, the opportunities that seemed to slip away, she might have never found her true calling. Instead, she embraced the redirection, realizing that what was meant for her was still ahead. Or consider the example of Walt Disney, who faced numerous setbacks and failures before creating the Disney empire. He didn't let the idea of loss hold him back. Instead, he saw each loss as a stepping stone toward the greatness that was always meant for him. Do you feel the shift in your perspective now? The truth is, you've never truly lost anything that was meant for you. What left was always going to leave. What stayed was always meant to stay. And what's coming next? It's yours, and no illusion of loss can ever take that away from you. You've made space for what is truly yours, and now you are ready to receive it all. You didn't lose anything. You were redirected. And in that redirection, you've already won. Number 10. You exposed the lies that kept others trapped. The world is built on carefully crafted lies, lies designed to keep people small, obedient, and afraid to question the system. From the very moment you were born, you were handed a script to follow. Follow the rules. Play it safe. Don't question authority. Success looks like this. Happiness comes from that. These were not just suggestions. They were demands, carefully constructed to make you conform, to keep you from thinking critically, to keep you in line. And as most people do, they accepted these illusions as their truth, never realizing that they were being programmed to stay in place, to chase goals that weren't even their own. Have you ever wondered why, despite doing everything right, you still felt incomplete, like something was missing in your life? It's because the system wants people to be content with mediocrity and status quo, chasing things that were never truly meant for them. They chase titles, positions, material wealth, and external validation, but none of it brings real fulfillment. Why? Because it was never theirs to begin with. It was someone else's idea of success, their vision of happiness, and not your own. But you saw through it. You began to notice the cracks in the system, the discrepancies in the story they told you about life, success, and happiness. When you began to question what they had told you, you could no longer accept it. And once you saw the truth, there was no going back. You couldn't unsee the lies that had kept you and others trapped for so long. You understood something most people will never realize. You don't have to live by someone else's script to be fulfilled or successful. The Bible speaks directly to this in Romans 12:2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. The moment you stopped conforming to the illusions around you and started thinking for yourself, you began a transformation. This wasn't just about rejecting the world's expectations. It was about claiming your right to create your own reality. Think about the courageous people in history who dared to expose the lies that kept others oppressed. Look at Martin Luther King Jr., who spoke out against the lies of segregation and racism, despite facing immense opposition. Or Consider the visionary Elon Musk, who questioned the very idea of what's possible in technology, often defying conventional wisdom to create companies that are now shaping the future. These individuals didn't just accept the world as it was. They exposed the lies that held others back and changed the course of history. Do you feel it now? The power in seeing through the system's lies. You didn't just break free from those illusions, you exposed them. And by doing so, you became a beacon of truth. You are proof that another way is possible, and in doing that, you forced people to question their own chains. Some are inspired by your courage and follow your lead. Others, however, will resist. But one thing is certain, you can't be unseen anymore. You've already escaped the system that trapped so many others. The strings that once held you down no longer exist. And that is a victory far greater than anything the world could ever offer. Once you wake up to the truth, you can never go back to sleep. Number 11. You didn't just survive. You became untouchable. Most people believe survival is the ultimate goal. They think that if they can just make it through the hardships, just endure the pain, they've won. But survival is only the beginning. It's the first step in a long journey. What's the point of surviving if you're still fragile? If one betrayal can still shake you? If a single failure can make you doubt your worth? If you are still controlled by fear, doubt, or the opinions of others, then you haven't truly won. You've only avoided losing. Have you ever found yourself questioning if simply surviving is enough, only to realize that surviving doesn't mean thriving? What good is survival if you are constantly living in fear or uncertainty, letting external circumstances dictate how you feel and what you believe about yourself? Survival alone doesn't give you the strength to keep moving forward. It only ensures that you're still standing, but not thriving. You didn't stop at surviving. You reached a place where you became untouchable. Not because life got easier, not because bad things stopped happening, but because nothing outside of you had the power to affect what was inside of you. You became unshakable. Think about it. No setback could make you give up. No betrayal could make you bitter. No loss could make you feel like you were lacking. Your inner peace became unbreakable. You stopped reacting to life's challenges and started choosing how you responded. You stopped taking things personally and stopped giving your energy to things that didn't deserve it. You stopped investing in things that only drained you. Do you feel that shift in yourself now? That's the true victory, the moment when you realize that nothing in the world has the power to define you. You stopped letting the opinions of others or the setbacks of life pull you out of alignment. You found your center, and once you did, nothing could shake it. The Bible in Isaiah 54:17 says, "No weapon formed against you will prosper." This wasn't just about external forces failing to defeat you. It was about your inner strength remaining unshaken no matter what life threw at you. You've reached a level where no matter what happens, you remain unscathed at the core. Look at the life of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who faced early rejection and hardships, but instead of being knocked down by it, he became untouchable. His resilience, self-belief, and work ethic turned him from a struggling wrestler into one of the highest-paid actors and a respected entrepreneur. Or take the example of Maya Angelou, who overcame childhood trauma, racism, and poverty to become one of the most influential voices in American literature. Through it all, her inner peace and power were untouchable. Do you realize how far you've come? People will still try to test you. Life will still throw challenges your way. But the difference now is that none of it moves you. You don't need to prove yourself anymore. You don't need validation, revenge, or closure. You've outgrown all of that. You're playing a different game now, one where your peace is untouchable, your confidence is unshakable, and your vision is unstoppable. That's why you've already won. because while others are still caught up in their emotions, still reacting to every little thing, still letting circumstances dictate their worth, you've transcended it all. You don't just survive anymore, you dominate, and nothing can pull you back to who you once were. You've become untouchable, and that is the ultimate victory. Number 12. You were the storm they couldn't predict. People love things they can predict. They like when others fit neatly into boxes, follow the rules, and play their designated roles. It makes them feel secure. It gives them a false sense of control. In their minds, you were supposed to be just like them. You were supposed to stay small, stay silent, stay in your place. They thought they had you all figured out, what you were capable of, where your limits were, and what your future looked like. But they were wrong. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord in Isaiah 55:8. The plans others had for you were never meant to shape you. They could never have imagined the depth of your potential. While they were busy underestimating you, you were becoming something they could never have anticipated. You weren't just growing, you were transforming into someone they couldn't possibly prepare for. You weren't just adapting, you were rewriting the rules of the game entirely. Have you ever felt that moment when you knew you weren't going to fit into the life others had imagined for you? And by the time they realized you weren't playing by their rules, it was already too late. You had already outgrown their expectations, surpassed their limitations, and moved far beyond their reach. What unsettles them the most is not just your success, but the fact that they never saw it coming. They can't put a label on you anymore. They can't figure out what drives you, how you keep winning, or why nothing seems to stop you. You became something beyond their understanding, an unpredictable force, a storm they never expected. And the truth is, there is nothing more powerful than someone who cannot be controlled. They will try to explain it, rationalize it, and act like they always knew you'd succeed. But deep down, they know the truth. They miscalculated. In the Bible, Jeremiah 29:11 reminds us, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." They may have tried to write your story, but the true plan was always in your hands, and now they see that you are the one who is directing your fate. Think of someone like Albert Einstein. Despite his remarkable mind, his unconventional ideas were dismissed by many early in his career. He was labeled a dreamer, someone who didn't fit into the typical mold. Yet, his theories ultimately revolutionized physics and reshaped the way we understand the universe. Or consider the journey of the Wright brothers, who were laughed at for believing in flight. The world had no idea what they were about to create. Today, we all fly because of their persistence and belief in their vision, despite the doubt around them. Then there's the example of J.K. Rowling, who was rejected by multiple publishers before Harry Potter became a worldwide sensation. She wasn't just trying to fit into the traditional molds of writing. She was transforming literature and storytelling in ways no one could have predicted. Do you see the pattern now? These individuals like you were underestimated, doubted, and misunderstood, but they didn't let that stop them. You didn't just rise, you became unstoppable. You've moved beyond their limited perceptions of you, and now you are the one who decides what happens next. You are the force that no one can control, the storm they never expected. You have created your own path, and they can no longer determine your future. You do. Number 13. You made peace with what destroyed others. Pain has a way of breaking people. Some never recover. They become bitter, resentful, or stuck in a cycle of self-pity. They let heartbreaks define them, betrayals poison their spirit, and failures convince them they weren't meant for anything more. They let what happened to them shape who they are, and in the end, they never truly move forward. They remain trapped in their past, unable to let go of the things that hurt them. Have you ever noticed how some people hold on to their pain as if it defines them, as if the suffering is their identity? It's easy to see how the weight of past heartbreaks can leave someone feeling crushed, lost in a sea of bitterness and regret. But you didn't allow your pain to define who you were. Instead, you made peace with it. You didn't just survive your pain, you transformed it into something powerful. You stopped asking, "Why did this happen to me?" And instead, you started asking, "How can I grow from this? How can this shape me into someone stronger?" Each heartbreak that was meant to break you only deepened your wisdom. Each failure that others thought would crush your spirit only sharpened your strategy. Each betrayal that should have left you devastated instead made you untouchable. You didn't let the storms of life drown you. You became the storm, and in the process, you became unshakable. You realized that every painful experience wasn't a weight. It was a gift, one that refined you, helped you grow, and prepared you for what was coming next. In the Bible, Romans 8:28 says, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." Your pain, your struggles, everything that seemed like a setback was not wasted. God was using every single moment to refine you, to mold you into the person you are meant to be. You weren't just going through hardship, you were being transformed, and that transformation made you stronger than you could ever have imagined. Most people run from their pain. They try to bury it, ignore it, or escape from it. They let it fester and poison their lives, keeping them stuck in a cycle of suffering. But you faced it. You didn't try to hide from your pain. You sat with it, you looked it in the eye, and you chose to learn from it. You didn't let it make you bitter. Instead, you let it make you better. You realized that every moment of suffering was a chance to become stronger, wiser, more resilient. The very things that were meant to break you became the things that built you up. You outgrew them. Can you feel it now? The peace that comes from knowing you have faced your past, learned from it, and now stand stronger because of it? You no longer carry your scars as burdens. You wear them as symbols of your strength. Think about the example of Oprah Winfrey, who grew up in poverty and faced unimaginable hardships, including abuse, before becoming one of the most influential women in the world. She didn't let her past define her. Instead, she turned it into a source of strength, using her story to empower others. Or look at the life of Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years in prison. Most would have been broken by such an experience, but Mandela emerged from prison as a leader who reshaped an entire nation. His suffering didn't break him, it refined him. His pain was transformed into a powerful tool for change. And then there's the story of Maya Angelou, who overcame an abusive childhood and the trauma of being silenced as a young girl. She didn't let those experiences define her. Instead, she turned her voice into a powerful weapon for change, speaking out against injustice and empowering millions with her words. Like you, she didn't just survive her pain, she grew through it. Do you see it now? Your pain has become part of your strength, and it no longer has the power to destroy you. You took what was meant to break you and used it to fuel your growth. You didn't just survive, you thrived. Now, while others are still trapped in resentment, still haunted by their past, you've already moved forward. Not just as a survivor, but as someone who took the very things that were meant to break them and turned them into fuel for their success. That's why you've already won. You've taken everything that once tried to destroy you and turned it into the very thing that has shaped you into the unstoppable force you are today. You've faced your pain, made peace with it, and transformed it into power. Now nothing can touch you in the same way again. You've moved forward, not just as someone who survived, but as someone who has evolved, someone who is unbreakable, untouchable, and unstoppable. Your scars are now your symbols of strength, and no one can take that away from you. Number 14. You saw the end before they even knew it began. Most people move through life reacting. They wait for proof before they believe, wait for results before they commit, and wait for permission before they act. They live in a state of constant hesitation, never fully embracing their potential because they need validation or reassurance before they take action. Have you ever noticed how others are always waiting for signs, for confirmation, for the perfect moment? They live in a world of uncertainty, allowing fear and doubt to hold them back. But you saw the end before the beginning even took shape. You didn't need validation, confirmation, or outside reassurance. You knew. You could feel it deep within you, the certainty of what was coming. While others hesitated, doubted, and second-guessed, you moved forward with the confidence of someone who had already won. And that's exactly why you did. This wasn't arrogance. It wasn't delusion. It was alignment. You understood something that most people never grasp. Reality follows belief, not the other way around. In Mark 11:24, Jesus says, "Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." You knew this truth. You didn't wait for the world to give you what you wanted. You claimed it in your heart long before anyone else could see it. You expected success, and because you did, it came. You moved as though victory was inevitable, because to you it was. While others were still trying to figure out the rules, you had already won the game. Have you ever felt that sense of certainty, that inner knowing that you were walking in success long before the results arrived? While they were still doubting, second-guessing, and trying to catch up, you were already 10 steps ahead, moving with purpose, confidence, and alignment. That's the kind of power you possessed. Not because of external factors, but because you were embodying success in everything you did. You weren't just hoping for a win. You were moving like it was already yours. And what makes this kind of certainty so powerful? In Isaiah 55:11, God assures us, "So is my word that goes out from my mouth. It will not return to me empty, but will accomplish what I desire and achieve the purpose for which I sent it." Just like God's word, your belief in your path was unshakable. You didn't have to fight for success. It was already destined for you because you had already claimed it. The world couldn't see it, but you had already envisioned the end. Think of the example of Elon Musk, who had the audacity to believe in electric cars and space travel when others saw them as impractical dreams. He wasn't waiting for validation. He knew what the future could be. Or consider Serena Williams, whose journey to becoming one of the greatest tennis players of all time wasn't defined by the opinions of others, but by her own vision and belief in her greatness. Then there's the example of Richard Branson, the founder of Virgin Group, who defied the odds of the airline and music industry despite repeated failures and challenges. Branson didn't wait for society to dictate his success. He believed in himself, adapted his strategies, and created a global empire that today spans across multiple industries. You were never just reacting to life, you were creating it. Do you realize the power in knowing that your success wasn't based on the world's timeline, but on your own conviction? You didn't need permission to succeed. You didn't need to wait for the perfect circumstances. You walked into success long before anyone else saw it, and because of that certainty, you've already won. You didn't have to scream it. You didn't have to prove it. You just became it. So, let them wonder. Let them analyze. Let them try to figure out how you did it. The truth is, they were never supposed to understand, because this was never their journey. It was yours. And you already won. Beloved chosen one, as we come to the end of this powerful message, I want you to take a moment to reflect on what has just been shared with you. You're not just a person trying to get by. You are a force, a storm, an unstoppable energy that no one could have predicted. While others live by fear, hesitation, and doubt, you are walking a path that is uniquely yours. You've seen the end long before anyone else did. You didn't wait for the world to tell you that you were worthy. You already knew you were destined for greatness. And you didn't just survive your challenges, you thrived through them. Every setback, every heartbreak, every moment of doubt only served to sharpen your edge and refine your strength. You're not just playing the game, you've already won it. As we wrap up today, I want to take a moment to sincerely thank you for being here. Your time, your attention, your energy, it means the world. Whether or not you choose to donate through the Super Thanks, I'm deeply grateful for your support. Know that you are a part of this community, and your engagement in this journey is just as important as any financial contribution. If you feel inspired to contribute, hit that Super Thanks button. But understand that your presence and participation are more than enough. Regardless of whether you donate, you are valued, you are seen, and you are loved. Your commitment to this journey is what matters most, and I am here to support you as we continue to walk this transformative path together. Now, beloved one, if this message hit deep, if you felt something shift inside you, if you realized that this truth has been with you all along, don't keep it to yourself. Share this message with someone who needs it, someone who's still doubting their power, someone who feels trapped in their past or uncertain about their future. This message is for those who need to be reminded that they too are the storm no one saw coming. Help others awaken to their own power by sharing this. And if you're ready for more, if you're ready for raw, unapologetic truth that shakes the very foundation of everything you thought you knew, then don't hesitate. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss what's coming next. This isn't just content, it's a movement that challenges the status quo, empowers the chosen ones, and inspires you to take control of your destiny. Your journey is far from over, it's just beginning. Each day is a new opportunity for you to step into the greatness you were born to achieve. So, lock in, stay connected, and let's continue to win together. Together, we are unstoppable. Together, we will continue to rise, no matter what the world throws our way. God bless you, beloved chosen one.